The stars were quiet. Space was big, cold, and dark, but for the first time in history, humans were not afraid of it. They had built homes on faraway worlds. Ships moved between planets like cars on a highway. Trade was strong. Peace was real, Captain. Lisa Bennett floated inside the command deck of the USS Liberty, a deep space research ship. She looked at the stars through the main window and thought about how far humanity had come. Once, Earth had been all they knew. Now, colonies stretched across dozens of systems. People lived on rocks, moons, and floating cities made of steel and hope. Life was good, or so everyone believed. Then came the silence. New Canaan, a small colony near the edge of known space, stopped sending messages. No distress call, no reply to hails, just nothing. Lisa got the order to investigate. She didn't like it. Something felt wrong. A scout ship was sent ahead. It jumped into the system and never came back. After 2 weeks with no word, the USS Liberty followed. What they found chilled them. New Canaan was gone. Not just destroyed, erased. The land was scorched. Buildings melted into glass. Satellites were shattered. There was no sign of life, no bodies, no blood. Just heat and silence. Something had been there. Something powerful. Lisa ordered scans. Strange energy readings filled the sensors. Not human. Not anything they knew. She reported everything back to Earth Fleet Command. Panic did not spread, but worry did. Senator James Hartley stood up in the United Terran Congress and said, "We are not alone. And we are not safe." Most ignored him. Some laughed. War had been left behind long ago. Why think of enemies when there was peace? But others listened. Generals read the reports. Scientists tried to explain the energy signatures. Nobody could. Back on Earth, President Maria Gilmore watched the footage from New Canaan. Her face was calm, but her hands shook. For the first time in decades, she asked the Defense Council a simple question. Can we fight? They didn't know. What they did know was this. If something had done this to New Canaan, it might come again. And next time it might not stop. So quietly, almost without notice, the first steps toward war began. Not with weapons. Not yet. But with fear. The silence after New Canaan's destruction did not last. Weeks passed, then a signal came from the edge of the West Haven system. It was not human, it was strong, it was loud, and it was followed by something no one expected, movement. A ship appeared out of nowhere. Not human. It was huge, black, and shaped like a blade. It floated near West Haven's orbit like it belonged there. Commander Daniel Cruz sat on the bridge of the USS Cologne, a small patrol frigate. He watched the alien vessel through the main screen. His crew waited for orders. No one knew what to do. There had been rumors, old reports, and warnings from people like Senator Hartley, but none of that mattered now. The enemy was here. Send a hail, Cruz said. His officer tapped controls. Nothing. The alien ship didn't respond. Scan them. No response. We can't read anything inside. Like it's made of shadow. Cruz frowned. Pull back. Keep distance. Then, without warning, the alien ship fired. A beam of light cut through space. It struck the USS Cologne like thunder. The frigate exploded. Not in fire. In light. In nothing. On Earth, the news spread fast. The footage was short, just seconds of static before the feed died. But it was enough. War had come. Fear moved faster than any ship. Colonies went dark. Families fled. Defense alarms rang across human space. Earth Fleet Command called an emergency meeting. President Gilmore stood in front of the world and spoke with calm eyes. We are under attack. People listened. Not because she shouted, but because she didn't. She told them the truth. They were not ready, but they would be. Within days, old ships were pulled from storage. Engineers worked night and day. Factories built weapons instead of tools. Civilians volunteered, pilots trained, soldiers drilled. For the first time in decades, humanity looked at the stars not with wonder, but with worry, and behind closed doors, scientists studied the energy readings from New Canaan and West Haven. What they found scared them more. This was not just war. This was something worse. Something that did not ask questions, only gave death. So, even as fear grew, so did something else. Anger, pride, will. They had lived in peace for too long. Now they would learn how to fight. And they would not go quietly. Metal screamed as it was cut, bent, and welded. Smoke rose from factories that hadn't made weapons in decades. Workers ran shifts through the night, hands raw, eyes tired, but hearts burning with purpose. War had come, and humanity was answering. Shipyards once filled with slow, careful builders, now buzzed like angry hives. Engineers shouted over machines, pilots trained in simulators until they could fly blind. Every colony, every city, every station joined the push. On Earth, President Maria Gilmore stood before a crowd at the new Atlanta spaceport. Behind her, a massive freighter was being torn apart, not for scrap, but for war. "We were not born to be victims," she said. "We were born to build, to fight, and to survive." The word spread across the colonies like fire. Dr. Amy Porter watched from the control room of TerraForge Industries. Once, she had worked on engines for deep space research. Now she led a team turning those peaceful tools into weapons of war. Her voice cracked over the comms. "Give me more speed, we need ships in orbit yesterday." Every bolt mattered. Every second counted. In orbit above Mars, the first Odyssey-class hull was taking shape. It was big, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Powered by an experimental fusion core, its frame was designed to take hits and keep moving. It was not just a ship. It was a promise. On the ground, families sent sons and daughters to training camps. Some would become pilots, others gunners. Many would never return. But no one stayed silent. Even the old and the young helped where they could. Children sorted parts. Scientists worked past their limits. Farmers grew food faster, knowing soldiers would need it. The Zareth had struck without warning. Now the humans were striking back, with steel, sweat, and will. News feeds showed footage of destroyed colonies, then cuts to dry docks filled with rising warships. Headlines read, "From peace to war in days, people who once argued about money or politics now spoke with one voice. Build more ships, build better weapons, build fast." Because somewhere out there, the enemy was watching, and humanity was done hiding. They were not just building ships. They were building hope, and they would not stop until every star burned with the light of human strength. Training camps ran day and night. New soldiers learned how to fight in space where there was no ground and no air. Pilots flew simulations until their hands moved on instinct. Gunners practiced firing rounds that could punch through alien armor. Every colony sent its best on one Earth. Admiral Robert Ellis stood at the center of a massive training dome. He watched as recruits drilled with mock weapons, learning how to move in zero gravity. Some stumbled, some fell, but they all got up. He knew not all would live, but those who did would be ready. "The Zareth think we are weak," he said to his officers. "They think we forget how to fight." But they were wrong. Task Force Sigma was formed, made up of the best minds, the fastest ships, and the strongest wills. It was not just a military group. It was an idea. A symbol. Humanity was rising. Dr. Amy Porter and her team finished the first full combat test of the Odyssey-class warship. The ship fired its main cannon for the first time. The blast lit up the dark like lightning. Sensors showed it had more power than any human weapon before it. It was not perfect, but it was enough. In orbit above Mars, the first fleet of new warships assembled. They were not sleek like old ships. They were rough, built fast, covered in extra armor and new weapons. Each one carried the work of thousands. Commander Daniel Cruz stood on the bridge of the USS Cologne Denonai, named in honor of the ship he lost. He looked out at the fleet and felt something deep inside him. Hope, Behind him, a young officer asked, "Do you think we can win?" Cruz didn't answer right away. He thought of West Haven, of New Canaan, of the friends he had lost. Then he said, "We don't need to win. We just need to fight hard enough that they start to fear us too." Because fear was no longer only on the human side. The Zareth had struck first. Now humanity was answering, not with panic, not with fear, but with fire, and steel, and will. As the fleet prepared to jump into unknown space, messages were sent home, last words, promises, goodbyes. Some would return, some would not. But every single one knew this. They were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to show the stars what humans could do when backed into a corner. And the stars were about to learn. The stars burned cold as the human fleet jumped into Epsilon Phoenicis. This was it, the first real fight. No more tests, no more training, just war. Captain Lisa Bennett stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, now a battle-ready cruiser. She looked at the screen and saw the enemy, 3 massive Zareth ships floating like silent hunters. They did not move like human ships. They did not signal. They did not wait. They only killed. "All units, hold formation," she said into the comms. Her voice was calm, but her heart pounded. The Zareth fired first. A flash of dark light cut through space. One of the human destroyers vanished in a burst of fire. No warning. No time to react. "Return fire," Cruz shouted from the USS Cologne. Diet missiles roared into the void. Lasers lit up the black. Explosions bloomed like stars being born. The humans fought hard. They moved fast. They used everything they had. Decoys, flanking moves, surprise attacks. They were outgunned, but not outsmarted. The USS Liberty took a direct hit. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Lisa held onto the command chair as the ship shook. "Shields at 30%, came the report. "Keep firing," she said. On the ground, people watched the battle unfold through live feeds. Families sat together, hands shaking. Some cried, others prayed. All waited. This was the first time they had seen their new warships in real combat, and they were not backing down. Admiral Ellis led the second wave. His ships dropped out of warp behind the enemy and opened fire. The Zareth turned, surprised by the attack from behind. It was working, not perfectly, but enough. "We're pushing them back," someone shouted on the bridge. Lisa didn't smile. "Not yet. Don't get cocky. Keep fighting." The battle raged for hours. Ships fell. Lives were lost. But when the last Zareth vessel limped away, dragging its broken body into the dark, the truth became clear. Humans could hurt the enemy, not just run, not just hide. They could fight and win. As the survivors counted their losses, messages were sent home. We held our own. They ran. We are still here. And across every colony, every station, every world, people began to believe something they hadn't before. Maybe the Zareth weren't unstoppable. Maybe it was their turn to be afraid. The war had begun, and it was not kind. Zareth ships struck deeper into human space. Colonies burned. Stations fell silent. Millions died in the first wave of attacks. But for every world lost, 10 more rose to take its place. Cities rebuilt faster than they had before. Factories ran without sleep. Workers built warships like they were building hope itself. Dr. Amy Porter stood on the deck of Terraforge Command. Behind her, the second Odyssey-class dreadnought neared completion. It was bigger than the first, stronger, armed with weapons that could split planets. "We're not just building ships," she told her team. "We're building a future." And they were. On Earth, President Maria Gilmore spoke to the people once more, this time from the ruins of New York Spaceport. Smoke still hung in the air from an attack weeks before, but beside her stood children holding signs. "Build more ships. We are not afraid," she said. "We are angry, and we are ready." Her words spread like fire. Soldiers trained harder. Pilots flew longer. Every colony sent more recruits. Some were young, some were old. All of them wanted to fight. Commander Daniel Cruz led the Eastern Fleet through the remains of Epsilon Phoenicis. His ships were fewer now, but better. Each one carried lessons learned from battle. Each pilot knew what it meant to lose and how to win. Admiral Ellis coordinated defenses across dozens of systems. He ordered new tactics, ambushes in dead space, traps made from broken ships. Humans were learning how to survive, but more than that, they were learning how to scare the enemy. The Zareth started avoiding certain systems. They sent scouts before full fleets. They hesitated, because they were learning something too. Humans did not break easy. Lisa Bennett returned to Earth after her last mission. She was wounded, tired, but alive. Reporters asked her what it felt like to fight the Zareth. She looked at the camera and said, "Like we were showing them what we can do." And across the stars, humanity agreed. They were not just defending anymore. They were rising, with every bolt of steel, every drop of sweat, every life lost. They would not stop, not until the stars remembered their name. The final battle began in the dark. The human fleet jumped into Zareth space with fire in their hearts. Thousands of ships followed, old ones, new ones, everyone built for this moment. They carried soldiers, pilots, and workers who had once built homes but now built war. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting to end it. Captain Lisa Bennett stood on the bridge of the USS Odyssey, the biggest ship humanity had ever made. Beside her was Commander Daniel Cruz. Behind them, Admiral Ellis led the main fleet. "This is it," Cruz said. Bennett nodded. "Then let's make them remember us." The Zareth met them with a wall of fire. Their ships were many, their weapons were cruel, but the humans did not stop. They fought through storms of metal and light. They flew through dead stars and burning dust. They lost ships, lives, friends, but they kept moving. In the heart of the enemy world, the USS Odyssey broke through. Alarms screamed. Power failed in parts of the ship. Smoke filled halls, but still they pushed forward. Bennett led a boarding team deep into the Zareth command center. She moved with pain in her side, blood on her suit. She placed the charge with shaking hands. "This is for New Canaan," she whispered. The blast tore through the core. The Zareth network went silent. Without control, their forces fell apart. Some ran. Some turned on each other. The great empire that had come to erase humanity now crumbled from within. It was over. The survivors limped home. Earth welcomed them like heroes. Cities lit up the night sky. Families hugged. Children cheered. President Gilmore stood before the world and spoke with tired eyes and a strong voice. "We were never the weak ones," she said. "We were waiting for danger to show us what we could become." People cried. People smiled, because they had done it, not by luck, not by chance, but by will, by work, by fire. And as the stars looked down, they saw something new, a species that had been tested and had not broken. They had risen, together, as one, and they would never be afraid again.